Welcome to Greek for a Week. I'm glad that you are continuing with us through this discussion at First Peter chapter 3. So we're in a new chapter this week, and we're starting the paragraph chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, which I want to continue this idea of living. Last few weeks, we went through the paragraph from chapter 2, verse 11, all the way through chapter 2, verse 25, and that I described as living in your community. Well, now Peter has switched gears, if you will, to living in your home, and specifically in chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, he is addressing wives and husbands. So today, we are going to look at verses 1 and 2 of chapter 3, which again is primarily addressing the wives of the home. And these two verses will help us not only set the stage for the next couple of verses, but will show a tie between the previous paragraph in chapter 2 as well as then this paragraph in chapter 3. So let me translate here. Peter says, in the same way, wives. So here's in the same way, wives are to do what? To be submissive to their own husbands, so that even if any are disobedient to the word, they might be gained. So here's they might be gained without a word through, basically here, through the conduct of the wives, because they have observed. What is it that they have observed? Your pure and respectful conduct. So I want to again make note of a couple of things, because it does look like this is a new topic, but I want you to understand that though he's talking about different people, the topic is somewhat similar. Okay, if you look at the very first word, ha-moios, that is an adverb, basically describing in the same way or in like manner. I think he's saying here that wives, again, they're not to submit to their husbands as slaves submit to masters. So we're not suggesting that. But I think what Peter is saying here, and Mark Dubus, who wrote the commentary in the Baylor Handbook series, he writes, in the same way that slaves have God-given responsibilities with respect to their masters, wives also have their own responsibilities. So I think that initial word here that begins verse 1 is the connector between the previous paragraph as well as this one. Then you have a participle here, the hupatassamene. Okay, this is a present middle participle, feminine, nominative plural of hupatazo. And I think to describe this as an imperatival participle is probably the most likely. That is, he's asking the wives to be submissive. This a here out to the side, this a is a particle, and it introduces a first class condition. This is the protasis, which means it's the if part of the clause, and he's using this to assume to be true for the sake of the argument. In a sense, he's saying, why should they be submissive? Here's our purpose clause, all right, for the purpose of that they, if they are disobedient to the word, then you could put here, then they might be gained, all right, then they might be gained, and then here's through what means? Through the means of the conduct of their wives. So really the construction of the verse is put together as an if-then clause in conjunction with the imperatival participle here. Let me give you two different verbs here. You have the apethusin. Apethusin, that is a third person plural, present active indicative of apetheo. And then you have another participle, or excuse me, another verb here, the kedrethesantai. That is a third person future passive indicative of caredino, and it's described as they might be gained. So the point again is that the conduct of the wives will be such that an unbelieving husband will become, if you will, a believing husband because of the conduct of the wife. This initial participle here in verse 2, I used the word because in the translation. It's likely a causal participle, aorist active participle, masculine nominative plural of pop-tuo. The en fabo here, en fabo, probably manner. The manner in which the wives are behaving is in a respectful way. But again, I'm contending that that respectful way is not necessarily respectful to their husbands as much as it's respectful to God. I think that'll about do it for this week. Again, just noting kind of the connection of this submissive, how do I live within my role, specifically here, of the home, whereas the previous paragraphs were within the community and in relationship to their masters. Trust you have a great week. We'll continue this paragraph with verses 3 and 4 next week, and have a great week.